Okay, purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to fillet big blue catfish. And I know blue catfish come in all kind of sizes up to 60 and 70 pounds. So by big, I just mean this 10-pounder that we have here. But before you can fillet a blue catfish, you have to acquire a blue catfish. So we like to remind everybody to pray, because the same God who raised Jesus from the dead can answer your prayers for your daily bread or your daily fish, as the case may be. Because in the Bible, Jesus says, which of you, if his son asked for a fish, would give him a snake instead? So we have this nice big 10-pound blue catfish. And I'm going to start by feeling for the ribs, because I don't really cut through the ribs like a lot of people do when they fillet fish. They cut through the ribs and then they cut the ribs out as a later step. Nothing wrong with that technique, but I prefer not to do it that way, because cutting through ribs takes a lot of work and it dulls my knife and it slows everything down when I have a mess of catfish that I'm filleting. So I feel along, find the rib cage in there, get a good idea where it is. And the first cut's going to be along the rib cage down to the backbone, and then the second cut is going to be along the backbone to separate the fillet from the backbone. And on smaller fish, a lot of times I leave a tag and I flip it over, and I never really cut that piece of skin off the rest of the fish. But this guy is a little too big for that trick, so in this case my plan is to go ahead and cut it all the way, and then I'll just grab that end with the pliers as the next step. Alright, so where are the ribs here? The first cut is just down the backbone along the ribs. Second cut, along the backbone. Sometimes you have to feel your way along a little bit with the knife. Alright, so now we have the first fillet off the fish. We'll go ahead and get the second fillet off the fish before we separate the fillets from the skin. Feeling for the ribs again. Now moving the knife, separating the fillet from the backbone. Sometimes I need to feel my way along a little more carefully with the knife, depending on what I'm feeling up in there. Alright, so now we have the second fillet removed from the fish. And I usually get all the way through a fish before I sharpen the knife again. But look at these fillets. When we were cutting along the backbone we were kind of getting the knife into the backbone a little bit. So seeing that the knife went through the backbone there, and as hard as I was having to work, I realized the knife is not as sharp as I'd like it to be when I separate those great big fillets from the skin in the next step. So this is just a little portable sharpener that I use. Give it 10 swipes real quick. And now the knife is trusty and sharp. So, and then when I do separate the fillets from the whole thing, grab a pair of pliers to hold the skin, and I'm working the knife to separate the fillet from the skin, and I'm sort of squeezing that skin between the knife and the cutting board as I work my way along. So that I don't leave much meat attached to the skin. Alright, so that's a nice, great big fillet from the blue catfish. And now we got to separate the second fillet from the skin largely the same way that we did the first one. Grab the tail end and the pliers, hold real tight, work the knife between the skin and the cutting board, and there we have it. Now, one thing that happened when I got this fillet off the backbone originally is I did get a little bit of this sort of the dorsal fin bones that stick down into the meat got attached. Sometimes that happens, it's no worries. You just cut them off. Wow, nice big catfish fillets here. This is a little bit of the skin that got left on there. As I'm checking it out here, I'll just go ahead and do a little work, cut that off. Now, depending on one's preferences, this darker meat that was next to the skin ends up on the fillet. That has some more of the heartier, fishier flavors. So if you prefer your catfish fillets to be really on the mild side, you'd probably want to go ahead and make some thin slices and trim that red meat out. If you don't mind the full flavored, more robust fish fillets, go ahead and leave those in there. Well, thank you, Lord Jesus, for those two real nice blue catfish fillets.